I recently bought this frame online from a local seller. I got it for this sort of flat bar gravel bike I'm putting together for my wife. I got a good deal on this because the paint on the frame is really rough. It's been stored outside, chained to a bike rack. It's covered in scratches and chips, and somebody's even spray painted part of it this dark blue color. I'm not sure why they did that, except there are some gouges in these areas. I'm thinking maybe they were trying to do paint touch-up and they just didn't know what they were doing. In today's video, we're going to restore the paint on this frame and we're going to make it look like new. I'll show you how to remove that paint overspray, how to apply paint touch-up, fill in the scratches, and then we'll polish it so it shines again. If you've got a bike and the paint is in this sort of condition and you want to restore it, you want to make it look like new, hopefully what I show you in today's video will help you do that. So if you're interested, let's get started. I want to start by trying to remove this blue spray paint. So I'm going to get the bike completely disassembled, get down to the bare frame. That includes removing the bottom bracket and the headset cups. I'm going to get this taken apart and we'll see what we can do about this blue spray paint. I've got the frame stripped down. It's really dirty, so before I do anything else, I want to clean it up. Normally I would do it outside with a garden hose, but it's incredibly windy, so instead I'm going to use some glass cleaner and some shop towels. I've got the frame pretty well cleaned up, so now I want to tackle that blue spray paint. I'm going to try and use a solvent to remove it. I've got to be careful though, because I need a solvent that will dissolve that spray paint, but one that won't harm the original finish. I'm going to try and dissolve that spray paint using some lacquer thinner. I've had really good luck with this in the past with spray paints. If it doesn't work, we'll have to go with something a little stronger, probably acetone. And if that doesn't work, then plan B is to try and buff that paint off. We don't know how this factory paint is going to react with solvents. So instead of just putting the solvent on a rag and going at the frame, I like to put some on and test it in a spot where you won't notice. So I put the lacquer thinner on a rag, and I'm going to wipe down the bottom of the bottom bracket, the underside, and we'll see how the paint reacts. I'm doing it down here because if it does screw something up, you won't notice. Yeah, I don't think this paint's going to be damaged by lacquer thinner. So this lacquer thinner does not appear to be cutting that blue paint. Oh, maybe a little bit. So I'm just going to keep wiping this down and see if we can get this blue paint off of here. The lacquer thinner did a really nice job. It just took a little bit of time. There were a couple spots I couldn't get to dissolve, but I think we can get those off with a rubbing compound. The hardest part of this whole process is finding matching touch-up paint. Most bike manufacturers, they don't provide touch-up paint and they don't provide paint codes. So you're kind of on your own when it comes to finding touch-up paint. In the past, I have had good luck with fingernail polish. It comes in a lot of colors and it tends to work really well. You can also go to your local auto parts store and look at automotive paint. That also comes in a variety of colors, and if you're lucky you might find a match. This really light blue, it's almost a white blue, I couldn't find anything close. So I went to my local hardware store and there I did find some Rust-Oleum spray paint. This one is Peaceful Blue, and according to the cap it's really close. I sprayed some of this on just as a test and it dries a little bit too dark. So I am going to mix it with some white Rust-Oleum, sort of mix the two together until I get a color that matches. I am using spray paint for the touch-up paint on this frame. I like using spray paint because it's readily available and you can get it in a lot of colors. Right out of the can though, spray paint is too thin for touch-up paint. So I spray it in a cup and I let some of the solvents evaporate. When it's thick enough, I then use an artist brush to fill in the chips. When you're applying touch-up paint with a brush, You only want to use as much paint as needed to fill in the chip or the scratch. If you apply too much, it will stick up above the rest of the paint. When you polish it, you'll see it. I'm using a dual action polisher to buff the paint on this frame. I'm using this because I have it for automotive paint work. They do make smaller polishers that would work better for bike frames. On the buffer for rubbing compound, I'm using Meguiar's Ultimate Compound. I've used this for years and it's really good stuff. It does a great job of removing scratches and swirl marks, but it's not so aggressive that it will burn the paint. And then once it's polished, I followed up with a coat of Carnauba wax. This really just protects the freshly polished surface and gives it just a little bit more shine. I went ahead and put the bike together so you guys could see the results on a finished bike. I painted the fork, I've got the components on. These are not the wheels I'm going to ultimately use, these are just stand-in. I've got a nice set of DT Swiss wheels ordered with gravel tires. Buffing the paint and restoring the frame, it made a world of difference in the way this bike looks. The paint shined up really nicely, and most of the chips, most of the damage you cannot see. There are a couple spots where my touch-up just didn't work out, and you can see those spots, but with the bike put together as a whole, you don't even notice. So if your bike is in this condition and you want to restore its paint, hopefully the steps I've shown you today will get you there, will help you out. So that's it for today's video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you later.